So, you want a WRX. Why? Or maybe you grew up watching Colin McRae and his great car compete for the World Rally Championship. Or maybe you just want an all-wheel drive turbocharged car that has a ridiculous amount of horsepower for the money you pay for it. Regardless of why you want a WRX, the sad reality is we're in 2022, and clean examples of these cars are getting less and less. As time goes on, as youth men write off these cars on a daily basis, and negligent owners run it hard every single day and don't service it, as well as people just distastefully modifying it to levels I can't even imagine why, it's becoming very difficult to find a clean, untouched WRX that really encapsulates what the car means to drive. As a result of this, the values for these cars are skyrocketing, and as much as we all love these cars, I think some of the prices we're seeing here is a bit too much to pay for a car that we're not even going to drive on a daily basis. I believe I have an answer to the question. It's not restoring WRXs, it's not finding or going through certain, like scouring the web on hours to find the perfect one. The answer is the Subaru Legacy.
Has a built block, it's a closed deck block. It's making a little over 400 wheel horsepower on it, which is honestly conservative for what this engine can really do.
And I've talked about how the Subaru Legacy is Subaru's underrated gem. I'm actually so happy it even exists. It's essentially a WRX, but as a comfortable sedan. And most importantly, it's a car that hasn't been molested by previous owners. You can find tanties, uncles, old people driving these cars. And even when I flash every performance Subaru I see on the road, just because, you know, Subaru. And everyone in WRXs, you know, gives the Subi wave, does that, gives reaction. But then everyone in like the older Legacies especially, they just look at me weird or don't respond at all. And I'm like, why? And it occurred to me, so many non-car enthusiasts have these cars. Most of these owners don't even know what it's like to bring the car to red line. It's essentially just a car that they get from to and from comfortably and wouldn't even think of driving it above the speed limit. And as these cars get older and older, they actually are pretty good value for money. Now, don't get me wrong, the Legacy is no WRX. They have special versions such as the Legacy with the FA20 DIT, or they have some versions such as the Legacy Spec B, as well as the Legacy with the Subaru naturally aspirated flat 6. However, these cars are extremely rare to find, and consider yourself lucky if you do. And even when you do, the prices are gonna be high. So let's say you don't find one of these rare versions and you need to settle for the general Legacies, turbo Legacies you see on the market. Now, the normal Legacies ain't a slouch. They have 240 horsepower around there, you know, all-wheel drive, like I said, and they weigh about 3,400 pounds. So it can get to where it's going pretty quickly. However, it's not designed to be a performance car, and the transmission is not to dog Subaru's automatics, but it's a sludge box. Even if you find one with paddle shifters, it's probably not the best. Also, the suspension might not be the best as it's tuned for comfort rather than the WRX's performance. However, the fact that these cars are relatively cheap and have been most likely untouched by the tanties of the past, chances are you're going to get a good working platform to build on. And that is where you can create an absolute beast. So, if I had the money to do a Subaru Legacy build, here's what I would do. First thing that's going, that automatic transmission. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna put in a 5-speed manual from the WRX. Next, I'm gonna stick with driver mode, and I'm gonna put some upgraded suspension on the Legacy. If I can find STI tuned suspension, then hell yeah. If not, I can go aftermarket. It's regards of the preference. However, suspension will be the next one to be upgraded. Coupled with the manual and upgraded suspension, you have a car that handles well with a fairly decent power to weight ratio. Now you have yourselves a bit of a go-kart that will be extremely fun to drive and chuck around corners. However, you'll be lacking the WRX or Subaru punch of torque lowdown you get from the turbocharger, and that's when engine mods come in. So, in the Turbo Legacy, you are going to find the 2-liter flat 4 EJ20. that's found in the WRX of the generation. Now, this engine is not going to have the tuning for performance as such the WRX, so the first thing I'm going to do is take it to get a remap, whether that be an off-the-shelf tune or one of the many pro tuners for Subarus in Trinidad. That's the next thing I'm going to do. After that, I'm going to go piece by piece, part after part, whether that be intake, whether that be downpipes, whether that be whatever. I'm going to go part after part and slowly upgrade the engine and upgrade the boost without touching the internals. I'm not going to increase the boost too much to cause stress on the engine, but I'm going to do the little things to, first of all, make the engine bay look a bit spicy. And then I'm going to, piece by piece, horsepower increase after horsepower increase until I get to a level where I'm ready to do major work on the engine internals. Granted, this is still a Subaru, so you can go any which way you want with this. You can go top mount in the cooler, keep the regular setup, or you can go front mount. I've seen a lot of people go front mount, and we all know what that means. Big boost, big power. However, I like to keep the regular setup of the car to not alter too much the car's like main performance, how it was built. So I'm gonna stick with the top mount. Now, once the engine is at the point where you want it, whether that be regular WRX horsepower, whether that be STI power, whether that be even more than STI power, like 340, 350, that's up to you. I've seen 340, 350 Legacies in Trinidad, so I know it can be done. The health of that engine, I can't really say. However, I've seen it happen. Regardless, when you get to that level, you now have a manual, upgraded suspension, upgraded horsepower, all-wheel drive turbo car. It's essentially a WRX, or even better. However, there's one thing that's still missing. I need to be whipping in something that looks good. So once I finish that, it's time for cosmetics. Now, for this, I'm not gonna add any spoiler like I've seen people do. I don't particularly like it on the spoiler. With the spoiler, I don't think it suits the car. So I think I might leave that alone, or maybe put a duckbill that's a bit more subtle. Next, I'm gonna put some STI wheels, depending on the color of the car, I'm not sure, but it's a Subaru. I love gold forged wheels, it's amazing. Next thing is gonna be side skirts and a front lip. Now, these can vary depending on the color of the car. For example, if it's a white car, I really love a carbon side skirt and lip, carbon or black. However, it really depends on the color of the car, and it depends on your taste personally. I say to this day, the Subaru Legacy is one of my favorite cars from Subaru. It's just truly amazing. I don't think anybody has anything bad to say about it. However, it does lack the childish playfulness and raw performance of a WRX, which many people, including myself, would want in a car, especially at my age. And it's not incapable of that, but it needs some work to get to that level. And with the WRXs being bruised and battered as they are in today's day and age, and prices for clean ones going up, I think it's your best decision if you want that kind of performance at an affordable price.